So, hey, I thought today we'd chill a little and, just reminisce and talk a bit. Mainly talk about Christmas, and I thought what better Christmas thing to talk about than Sonic the Hedgehog. My favorite version of Santa Claus. Yeah, we'll get into that later, don't ask. I'm mainly doing a Christmas special kind of video because I did want to put one more thing out there before the end of the year, and at the time of me writing this, it's currently the 17th of December, which means Christmas is coming up, so why not do something for that? Now, I want to put this out there that I have never watched an entire episode of Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. The most I've seen is clips on Twitter, and that's about it. So this was the first time I've ever actually sat down and watched a full episode, which was of course the Christmas special, appropriately titled Sonic Christmas Blast. And my thoughts? It was genuinely pretty decent. It wasn't peak or anything, it's not the Sonic media to end all Sonic media, but it was pretty fun, and I enjoyed my time with it. So let's speak out the plot first before anything. The plot of this episode is very simple, and very much what you would expect from your typical Christmas episode. Eggman captured Santa so that he could take all the presents for himself, and Sonic has to save him. It's nothing to freak about, but the way they go about handling this plot is done in such a way that it has a lot of that Sonic charm to it. A good way to show this is when Sonic and Tails go to Robotropolis and run into Scratch and Grounder. Sonic takes them out by messing with their giant magnet, and then proceeds to run off and disguise himself as a garbage collector, to find them with 10,000 Robotnibucks, if they don't provide him with info. And that's something I could totally see Sonic doing. It's just a really creative way to go about Sonic stopping the bad guys and keeping him in character. Another thing I love is when Sonic saves Santa and figures out that the ring he was holding onto for pretty much the entire episode, which was actually given to him by Sally Acorn, who makes her first and only appearance in this show, is a ring that he can use to unlock extreme speed. And then there's like this montage of Sonic doing the trials he needs to complete, and it's a really hilarious montage. It just shows off how awesome Sonic is and how fun it is to watch him do all this stuff. I think Sonic is insanely in character in this episode, and I love that. Not to mention, the voice cast for this show is pretty decent. I think Jaleel White really fits Sonic, especially Classic, and Tails, voiced by Chris Turner, is just okay. He's not my favourite voice for the Fox, but he's all around pretty decent. Eggman is voiced by the late Long John Baldry, and I think this voice for Eggman is just I'm not too fond of it, but it isn't bad at all either. Also, Sonic straight up just becomes Santa at the end of this episode, which I actually think is perfect. Like, the old man was washed anyways, let the 3-foot blue squirrel take over. I'm sure kids will love him. Obviously though, this episode isn't perfect. Like, for example, the animation is very much what you'd expect for a low-budget cartoon made in the 90s. It's not bad per se, but you also sure aren't getting the peak of animation from this. Another thing kinda weird about this episode, which isn't a major issue, but just something interesting I noticed, is how there's a recap for this episode at the very beginning of the episode. Which to me is weird because it pretty much just spoils the entire episode right then and there. It's not too big of an issue, just something I noticed. One thing that is somewhat of an issue, however, is how I'm kinda confused on how this was meant to be a promotion for 3D Blast, or even Sonic Extreme, for that matter. To add some context, this special was originally intended to be a promotion for Sonic Extreme. However, we all know the story behind that game, and so instead it was changed to be a promotion for 3D Blast, which was coming out around the same time, that being Christmas 1996. And keep in mind, the show was over by this point. The last episode was in December 1993, so there was no reason to make this other than to promote an upcoming game. That being said, what about this is related to Sonic 3D Blast at all? Even Sonic Extreme, from the bits we know about the game, there's nothing related to that here. Nothing that even ties into it. At most, there's a knockoff Flicky at the start of the episode, which somewhat relates to 3D Blast, but even that feels like the craziest stretch imaginable. This subject is probably worth its own video alone, but the most annoying thing to me is when a show, movie, etc. is made to promote another piece of media and then has almost nothing to do with that piece of media. It's more of a nitpick, I guess, but I don't know, it just kinda annoys me. It's just weird to title this after a game that has literally nothing to do with the plot of the episode. It's not even in the same continuity. The final thing I want to say, just to end this bit off on a positive note, is that I love how after the credits they promote Sonic Underground with its undeniable banger of a theme. It's worth sitting through the credits for that alone, personally. I mean, I don't know, that's pretty much all I have to say on this episode. But the video isn't done yet. This video is the last that's going to go up during 2023, so I want to just end this video off by saying thank you. Whether you're a new subscriber or you've been watching since the start of the year, genuinely just thank you. Thank you for supporting me. When I was a little kid, my goal was always to reach 100 subscribers. The most I ever reached was about 77. I was recording myself on my iPhone 4, uploading constantly just because I loved YouTube. I loved watching YouTube, and watching inspired me to start my own channel. Now I get to do it again, but you know, there's actual quality. My channel, as of this video, is averaging about 1,000 views per video, and as corny as it sounds, it couldn't have been done without you. Without the constant support for the channel, I wouldn't be writing this script, I wouldn't be editing this video, you wouldn't be watching this video. Whenever I say to support the content, this is exactly why, because every single bit of support helps me. Even something as small as just leaving a comment or pressing like. So I'll say it again. Whether I'm ranting about how terrible of a story Zero War is, I'll say it again, fuck Zero War, losing my mind over Spider-Man 2, discussing the fate of E3, talking about a silly blue hedgehog, yapping about the electric rat, thank you. And I'll see you all in 2024.